All right, let's start with the big story that we're tracking on Wion at this hour, where the countdown to India's parliamentary polls has begun. The Election Commission of India is expected to announce the schedule for the Lok Sabha elections at 5 p.m. this evening. And once the poll dates are announced, the Model Code of Conduct will, of course, kick in. And this means that everything starting from political advertisements to campaigning and the general code of political parties and leaders will, of course, come under the scrutiny of the Election Commission. The tenure of the current Lok Sabha ends on the 3rd of June this year. All right, now, to add more perspective on this, we are joined in by our senior political affairs editor, Kartikeya Sharma, who is joining us from the newsroom. Good afternoon to you, Kartikeya. Now, this, of course, is the announcement that everyone was waiting for. There was a lot of speculation. Is the announcement getting delayed? Earlier, it was being said that it could be announced by the 4th of March. But today, on the 10th of March, we expect the Election Commission to, of course, announce the dates for the big general elections for 2019.
Oh, absolutely. I think that big day has come. It was already near. The election, the Lok Sabha has to be constituted by June. So I think everyone was expecting it. The general idea was that the Prime Minister's itinerary needs to be complete. So I think most of the functions were over by yesterday.
Right.
So the Election Commission has taken the call and went for this decision. Anyway, they had booked the Wion Bhavan, that's where the buzz was, for Sunday, Monday and Tuesday. So they have decided to go for a press conference on Sunday in New Delhi.
Absolutely indeed. Kartikeya, do continue to stay on with us. Meanwhile, I'm told that we're also joined in by Mr. Tathagat Satpathy, who is a senior journalist. So thank you very much indeed for joining us here on this broadcast on Wion. So let me begin by asking you about this announcement that is to be made later on towards the evening today of the big general elections 2019. So what is your expectation?
First of all, I would like to express my surprise, which I had not seen before, earlier, even in 2014, that in social media, the tentative dates that could be announced by the EC are doing the rounds.
Right.
I will be very surprised if those dates tally to a great extent to what the Election Commission announces, because that would compromise the position, the integrity of the Election Commission first. And I'm waiting for their announcement, so I will compare. And the second thing is, this will be a historic election for India, like all elections have been historic, but this will be especially different because very smoothly, with a very minor event, the whole narrative of economic development in this country has been changed, and it has gone completely haywire. So people are not focused on economy anymore. People are not thinking about employment generation. They are not thinking about investment. They are not thinking about development. And I do not consider roads and bridges to be infrastructure development, because those are... I personally believe that roads should probably be international property, because if I start driving from Bhubaneswar, I could go straight up to UK or France. I could go up to Paris by road.
Right.
So roads belong to the drivers,
Okay, now my question to you, Mr. Satpathy, is, you are a veteran journalist and you also have been a member of the parliament here. Now, the 2019 elections are going to be markedly different from the 2014 elections. What do you think is going to be the difference in the campaigning and what the political parties are likely to promise to the people of India?
See, the people of India have become very aware nowadays. They are not what they were, say, 30 or 40 years ago. And
now, I want you to draw the comparison in terms of how campaigning is going to be different in 2019 in comparison with the year 2014, because remember, in 2014 it was a high-octane election campaign that focused fundamentally on the personality of Prime Minister Modi. Corruption of the Congress party was also in focus, but this time around the issues are completely different. Do you think BJP has got with it the right kind of a narrative as it approaches the people to try and get re-elected this time round?
I would turn your question the other way around, in the sense that last election was primarily against the corruption of the Congress. People were fed up with the scams and all the wrongdoings of the Congress-led Manmohan Singh-led government. and people rejected the Congress.
Right.
And the alternative at that time was Mr. Narendra Damodar Das Modi, who became the Prime Minister. But this time, because the narrative has been changed from development to war and to a kind of a hysteria, it is possible that this election campaign throughout the country, except in states where the divide is not so acute, it could be pretty volatile. And I would not be surprised if there is some spread violence also, because the atmosphere has been very charged lately.
You know, it's interesting that you're drawing the distinction in how people have voted. You say that 2014 was a rejection of the Congress because of the corruption charges it faced, and 2019 is going to be determined because of what has happened post the Pulwama attack. You suggest that there is a different mood that the nation is in fact moving towards. But the point that I want to ask you about is, considering the overarching personality that Prime Minister Narendra Modi has had, you know, he likes a presidential-like contest. Do you not think that this election, like he had done in 2014, is an election that Prime Minister Modi would like to make all about himself?
Yes, I guess what you are saying is correct. Mr. Modi would like to boil down the whole issue to his personality and his achievements and his image that has been built up so strongly nationally in the past 5 years. But it is also possible that that could be the reason for a big divide. So we can only wait and see how the electorate goes, because if you do not have multiple issues, then it may, the divide may be very strong. I may support you in something and oppose you in something else.
Right.
But still, I may vote for you. But when I have to bring it down to one particular thing, the against and for votes would be very divided. So I guess, yes, it will be a personality-based election to a great extent.
Okay.
But that may not be the situation in the hinterlands of Delhi and in states like Orissa and the south, where there are other personalities also who could compete or exceed Mr. Modi in their respective states.
Right. That's an interesting distinction that you draw in terms of how the personality of Prime Minister Modi will be viewed, let's say, in urban areas and also in other rural pockets. But I also want to talk to you about the issues, because the BJP is already trying to get the message across. So are the other political parties. But perhaps the strongest messaging has come from the ruling incumbent party. They want to keep this election focused on the achievements of the incumbent government. They want to show and talk about their economic track record. Besides this, the BJP, of course, wants to also talk about how BJP has dealt with terror, especially in terms of what it did after Uri and also after Pulwama. So the surgical strikes is what I'm hinting on. And also the issue of Ram Mandir. Which of these issues do you think is the BJP going to harp on the most as they try to lure the voters to give them another chance?
I do not believe the BJP will harp very much on the economic aspect of the past 5 years, because everybody knows that the economy is in complete shambles now. And where are the jobs? Where is that 15 lakhs that were promised to every bank account? All the bank accounts that were opened with so much bravado are lying unutilized. They have no deposits. So I don't think the economy aspect would be very high.
Right.
My guess is that drawing attention to the personality of Mr. Modi and the so-called war, or whatever it is you can label it,
Right.
Or national security, if we take it under a broader umbrella,
Right.
would be major issues that will be told to the public by the incumbent government.
All right.
And,
that's an interesting analysis.
Yes, that's what I feel.
All right. Mr. Tathagat Satpathy, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this broadcast on Wion and giving us your perspective in terms of how the messaging will be by the BJP. And Kartikeya, if I can bring you in on this, you know, the fact of the matter is this is an election which is very different in terms of the way it looks, in terms of the way it feels from what we saw in 2014. In 2014, the messaging by the BJP was very clear. They were trying to upseat the Congress. They had the agenda. Congress was described as corrupt. They were showing Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his track record in Gujarat. And the slogan, of course, that the BJP gave at that time was "Achhe din aayenge." And now the BJP will have to go back to the voters. And do you think they can now convince the voters to give them a second term on "Achhe din kya ab aa gaye hain"?
See, I think this election is going to hover around Narendra Modi. The problem for the opposition parties is that this is not an election for Rahul Gandhi or Chandrasekhar Rao. So the people who like Modi will vote for Modi, people who don't like Modi will not vote for Modi. But the election is turning presidential. Now the success of the Congress party or the regional parties would be if they can take it down to issues like agrarian sector or the jobs or economy. Because the more they play on the BJP pitch, the BJP tends to gain. Secondly, people, there is generally underestimate Bharatiya Janata Party. The reason why Bharatiya Janata Party did well in 2014 was not only because they swept urban areas, but they swept 60% of the ST-SC constituencies throughout India. So the work which RSS and BJP has done in the reserved and scheduled constituencies is the reason why BJP has become so strong.
I'll discuss in terms of the sections that BJP in fact targeted really well and managed to win very convincingly in 2014. But the other aspect, Karthikeya, that I'd like to draw your attention to is in terms of, is this going to be an election that is going to be driven like it happened in 2014? The central parties, they dominated. It was the national party BJP which could sweep through. Do you think the regional parties this time round are likely to have more traction in the Lok Sabha?
I think regional parties have more traction. Regional parties are more important. Regional parties have become kingmakers after 1996. For the first time, this election is going to take place where Karunanidhi and Jayalalitha will not be there in Tamil Nadu politics. After 20 years, you have JDS as an important player in Karnataka politics. Between 96 and 98, H.D. Devegowda was the Prime Minister before he was succeeded by I.K. Gujral. So there are a lot of new things in this. For the first time, you don't have a government of Congress party in any of the northeastern states. You have an election whereby the BJP is threatened because of coming together of SP-BSP, which they did after Ayodhya. In Ayodhya, Babri Masjid was brought down and SP-BSP formed the government in backdrop of a Ram Mandir wave. So many things are new.
Absolutely indeed. Do continue to stay on with this, Karthikeya, because the other aspect that we'll be looking at very closely is that with the Election Commission of India expecting to announce the election dates at 5 p.m. today, the Model Code of Conduct for all political parties comes into effect soon as the election dates are announced. Now, the Election Commission's Model Code of Conduct is essentially a set of guidelines which regulates the political parties and politicians prior to the elections. Now, the Model Code of Conduct also ensures that the ruling party does not get an unfair advantage over other parties. Now, the Model Code of Conduct remains in effect till the election results are announced, and the Model Code of Conduct has several provisions pertaining to the general conduct, campaigning, election manifestos, etc. So, as soon as the Code of Conduct kicks in, the party in power, this is significant, the party in power cannot use its official position for campaigning. No policy or scheme can be announced by the government to influence voting behavior. No advertising at the cost of public exchequer. Official mass media of the state, this is again very significant, cannot be used for publicity purposes by the ruling party. Official visits and campaigning cannot be combined. There cannot be any discrimination making public spaces such as grounds and maidans, etc. available for campaigning. And also, significantly, there cannot be any ad hoc appointments in government or public undertakings to influence voters. Now, no communal or caste sentiments. Remember, this is an extremely important aspect considering as to how charged these issues can get. So, no communal or caste sentiments can be invoked to lure voters to vote in a certain way. Temples, mosques, churches, etc. cannot be used for election propaganda. No bribes or intimidation can be used to influence voters, and no public meetings in the last 48 hours before the closure of the polls. Now, if any party or politician is found in violation of the Code of Conduct, then the Election Commission of its own or on the basis of a complaint can issue a notice to the individual who is found flouting the guidelines. So, Karthikeya, let me come back to you on this. The Model Code of Conduct will kick in as soon as the announcement of the election dates are made. In the past, we've seen there are many parties who still will continue to flout these guidelines. So, this time round, considering, the manner in which the Election Commission in recent years has tried to crack down on the parties and the politicians for flouting the guidelines, these guidelines will be very strictly enforced.
Oh, absolutely. The guidelines are to be enforced, but sometimes people say that strictures are passed, but action is not taken. That is true. Election Commission also, in somehow, is a toothless tiger.
Right.
Tell me against which politician Election Commission has taken a position which led to his immediate disqualification. It doesn't happen like that. Because of the political, I would say, competitiveness,
right.
It has also impacted the efficacy of Election Commission. It's not to say that all the, I would say, dictatorial powers should be granted to the Election Commission, but over a period of time, we have seen that sometimes people really get away with a very lenient view or with
right.
a strong word from the Commission.
Absolutely. Now, the other issue that I want to talk to you is about the issues that will dominate the elections in 2019. In 2014, it was all about two aspects. It was about the corruption of the Congress, and secondly, it was about how Narendra Modi had turned things around in Gujarat. This time round, the BJP is, of course, going to the voters with its economic and its track record on development. That is one issue. Second is how it has dealt with terror. And third is, of course, the Ram Mandir issue, which the RSS, the ideological fount of the BJP, would, of course, want it to pursue further. Which one of these issues is likely to be the best issue, which would get the most traction amongst the voters this time round?
I think every constituency has its punchline.
Right.
Now, some of the urban voters, they like the issue of nationalism, but there are millennials who don't like this issue. The rural voters are more focused on economy, but you also have urban voters who feel the pinch in terms of loss of jobs. So I think it's going to be a complex election which is rolled out in various states.
Right.
But issue is, will the comparison between Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi work to Narendra Modi's advantage? One. Secondly, will this election turn presidential? Thirdly, will regional parties be able to snatch away the momentum from Bharatiya Janata Party and turn it into regional issues? Fourth, will the coming together of SP and BSP be the real giant killer for Bharatiya Janata Party? And fifth and the foremost, will be Congress Party cross 100 or will it remain between 70 to 100 seats or 80 to 100 seats? That's the issue. If these are the things which will decide the future. Suppose Congress Party touches 120 to 140 seats, then it's in the game. If it is below 120, it's not in the game. It has to do the role of a supporting cast. So ultimately, it all boils down to numbers and how much seats they are able to retrieve from the areas which they lost. Because Congress has, again, in 2014, lost a tract of land which they are finding it difficult to regain. Like they lost Tamil Nadu in 67, never regained it. They lost West Bengal in 70s, never regained it. They lost UP in 1989, never regained it. Similarly, they lost Bihar also in late 1980s, never regained it. They have never regained full control of Maharashtra after Sharad Pawar went out. They are in alliance with smaller parties in Kerala. For the, again they are into alliance in Karnataka, where they were a hegemonic party. In Telangana, they are again a small party. In Andhra Pradesh, they are nowhere. In Odisha, they are a very small opposition party. In Jharkhand, they are in alliance. So if you go state by state, we'll see the advantages and disadvantages for both BJP and Congress party. For BJP, the catchment area is north, but expansion area has not worked. But for the Congress party has not expanded itself. It has only been able to reorganize its social media.
Absolutely, indeed. Now, you spelt out the states where the Congress, in fact, went on the back foot and never regained these states. Now, the other number that they would be looking at very closely is they were reduced to 44, which is the lowest ever figure since independence. Now, the Congress has tried to play a pretty smart game over the last few months. They've upped their campaigning, but do you think they have the right issues? They've tried to corner the government on the Rafale. They've also asked the question, how is the jobs? Has the Congress got the messaging right this time round?
I think they have got the social messaging right, but see, they are underestimating the power of the organization. Congress social media campaign in Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan was very high-pitched. But what happened? A state where there was no leader, the campaign was silent. Chhattisgarh, they swept it. And the states where thought they were going to sweep, they barely were able to cross a simple majority mark. Both in Rajasthan and Madhya Pradesh, when the Congress formed, they came to power, they were in minority. The Congress did not cross the 115 threshold in Madhya Pradesh. They did not have more than 99 members in Rajasthan. So the issue is that because of the pushback from Amit Shah, they were able to retrieve a lot of lost ground. So the defeat of Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan for BJP is not a humiliating defeat. It's a defeat. It's not a humiliating defeat.
That is true. These are aspects we will continue to debate, Karthikeya. But thank you very much indeed for the time being, for joining us and getting us all these insights into what we can expect in these big and exciting elections 2019. The poll bugle of which will be announced at the press briefing today by the Election Commission.